Hi, everyone. I'm Chris DeShane. I'm the Director of Operations at Calumet, and we have Victoria West with us today. Um, Hi, Victoria. And her hair is always looking amazing, even being pulled up in a bun. She's fantastic. She's one of the photographers that is on Calumet, and we wanted to get her to share a little bit of her expertise. So, hi, Victoria.
Hi, Chris.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm at
Okay.
home. So, yeah, I'm starting my vacation.
What vacation from what? Are we not shooting for a
I'm
small
not
amount
shooting
of time?
clients, not
No,
shooting clients for like 2 weeks.
but still creating NFTs, right? Right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'll have time.
Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. That's going to be a great vacation then. So just to let everybody know that's watching, when I say a great photographer, can you talk a little bit about some of the awards that you've won?
Yes. So I am the portrait photographer of the year for the Canadian Professional Photographers of Canada, 3 years in a row.
Okay. And any awards? I I've got this little piece right here. So I'd love to know what awards that is won, and maybe some of your other photography.
Okay, so I've won a lot of international awards. The Probably the biggest one I won was a bronze medal at the World Photographic Cup for Canada, so that was big. And also, the Last Supper won a first place gold in WPPI, which is one of the biggest wedding and portrait competitions in the world. And actually, it's going into another the print WPPI competition in a few weeks. So hopefully it does well. But yeah, I mean, I've been competing in photography competitions for a few years and I've done really well. So I've been lucky that judges like my stuff because they can be savage.
What goes into these competitions? Like, is it just I take a picture? Because I'm a photographer, but I've never entered competitions. It's more of a you know not trying to make a living off of it, just enjoy doing it. So we'll call it a hobby. But what goes into a competition?
Well, I mean, I guess it's going to depend on the category that you're entering into. The category I always enter into is portrait, which is probably one of the hardest categories because if you're able to control everything, which you are in portrait, then it's supposed to be perfect. Whereas, like, if you're doing, photojournalistic thing, like photojournalistic wedding or birth photography or something like that, you're obviously not in complete control, so they make allowances for that. But yeah, with portrait you need to be precise, so technically it has to be like flawless. And then if it's technically flawless, then it needs to have like something that makes it beyond beyond basic, like just beyond the expected. Like, so it should be creative, unique, tell a story, have like just a lot of impact. So it's really hard actually to come up with ideas for that also will not mm, break portrait rules too much. Which sounds weird, but like any element in an image that takes away from the subject, like distracts from the subject, is usually a fault. That's not a good thing. So yeah, it's a balancing act.
So what are some of the things that are judged? You said some of the rules. Like what would docu points? Like what are some of the things that the coaches are looking at? Didn't you just say that you are also going to be a coach, or you are a coach or a judge? I guess not necessarily a coach, but aren't you also like about to have the ability to judge competitions as well?
I believe so, as long as I passed my test, which was last weekend.
When
But
do you find that out?
I think next week, I expect that I will have passed, but yeah, so I'll be able to judge. I don't really want to judge. I feel like people aren't going to like me as a judge, um, which isn't great. Just because
I won't say anything.
I have a high standard, because I put so much into my work, when I see stuff that I feel is just like lazy, like I'm gonna be quick to point it out. And I'm really straight to the point. So I don't do well making what's called in judging shit sandwiches, where it's like, oh, this is really good. Maybe you could work on this. And this is really good. You know what I mean? It's like softening the blow. I'm not great at that. I'm just really like straight to the point. So I don't
And
know.
I know one time I grabbed a piece and I said, Victoria, and it was just, a random shot that I had saved on my computer. I've got like, I don't know, 16 terabytes of photos. And I was like, hey, what do you think of this one? You're like, oh, well, the hands are not turned out and this and this and the lighting, and maybe it's the way it's cropped. So that's what I was kind of asking. Maybe I'm just trying to cheat a little bit and see how I can get better. But how would you, if you were going to give advice to a new photographer or somebody, that has been doing it for a while, that wants to get better, let's use this piece, the Last Supper. And can you talk a little bit about what went into that?
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say before we go into that one specifically is that for me, I feel that I was like pretty stagnant as a photographer for a lot of years, because I was just trying to make money, and yeah, I wasn't growing that much. It was really entering competitions and joining like a professional association really pushed me forward. And it's not necessarily because the association is going to teach you to be better. It's that
They're
it
going to
put
motivate you to
yeah,
be better. Gotcha.
yeah. 'Cause I was seeing like what was winning, and I'm like, I need to step up my game. And but all those skills that I've learned, and I'll actually show you how I made the Last Supper. But all those skills that I learned, I apply them in my business, so they benefit my clients, because I've become like a really strong editor. I'm really good at Photoshop now, a lot better than I used to be. So that benefits everyone. But actually,
As a photographer, I think learning Photoshop is like, I get around Photoshop, but what's the great photographers can do is like, I'm like, how in the world did you do this or this or this? And yeah, I think that's a huge portion of it. But when you're looking at what is a great shot, and the angles, the lighting, all this, do I have glare? Is anything blown out? How do I get the right colors? And then it's just, it's hard for me as a photographer to really devote that much time. And because I second guess myself the whole time, I'm like, is somebody really going to like this? Should I put this much time into this, or should I look at this one? Do you have any tips or advice on that?
well, a lot of stuff that you mentioned, like lighting and exposure and all of those sort of things, like I feel like it's like driving a car, right? In the beginning, when you first start driving, you have to think about all that stuff, and then as you do it a lot, you're like, how the hell did I get here? I didn't even notice. And like for me, that's where I'm at with my camera. Like the more you do it, the easier those things are just gonna come to you. So the technical aspect is not something that I even think about anymore. What I'm thinking about is, getting every piece that I'm going to need, or, like the elements, like, yeah, I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, like there's so many online, resources now, and just get out there and shoot, like just do it. That's the best way. And also getting someone, like someone who is who can mentor you, so you can show your work to, and they can give you unbiased, critique, because it's really difficult to judge your own work. We're emotionally tied to it, so you'll overlook things, you won't notice it, whereas someone else will be like, actually it's funny, like the Last Supper, when I put it up into like a critique group before I put it into competition the first time, and I had shown it to like 3 people before, and someone said, "One of his sleeves is up a lot higher than the other," and nobody had noticed that until this one person. So, it's not. I fixed it, but it was initially. Well, actually, you'll see it here. Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share.
Oh,
Um,
you've got a screen share for us. Hold on.
yeah,
That's fantastic. So
okay.
you have like a video of the process on how you made the Last Supper?
Well, it's not a video. It is pictures. It's pictures because every time I'm making like, okay, can you see this?
I can.
Okay, so every time I make an image, like it takes me forever. I couldn't just video it. Like if I was recording it, it would be the longest I'm recording in history. I don't know. I mean, it would literally be like 2 weeks worth of recording. Obviously, I could like speed that up, but when I'm working, like I'm listening to Clubhouse or I'm watching a show or whatever, so I don't do that. But I do save everything in like stages, so I can go back and kind of show you how I did it. So um, this is where I
Hold on,
uh,
go back up to the first image really quickly. Okay.
okay.
And then go to the second one. So this is where you started.
Okay, well, there's different elements. Okay, so I knew what I wanted to make. And like this was one of those images that I could see it in my head, like I knew exactly what I wanted. Um so I didn't have like a globe, and globes are really expensive. So I bought a balloon on Amazon for like, I don't know, it was like $2 or something. So this is my earth balloon. And I knew I only wanted half, but that's okay. So and I also knew that I was going to have my model sitting, behind it, and there was going to be fire behind him. So I had to have it backlit. So I did that, and I put him in position, even though he wasn't, ready to go or whatever. It didn't matter because it was just going to be that earth. So that's one element. But like I had to pre-plan all of the lighting like before, right? Like all the lighting has to be consistent when you're doing composites like this. So that was the first element.
So you said you knew that there was going to be fire behind him. Can you tell? I don't think we discussed what the Last Supper, like. What's the story with the Last Supper? Since we started on the finished project or product, why was this piece created?
Well, I made it in January of 2020 when Australia was burning, and we thought that was like the worst thing that was going to happen that year. So one of the things that really struck me a lot was how everyone was like so horrified by how many animals were being killed in these fires, but in reality the amount of animals that were killed during that entire like fire is less than what we kill every day to eat. And I mean those animals have horrendous lives, and then we're killing them. So I just kept like thinking about like, everyone's like complaining that these fires are happening, like it's so horrible, but we're the cause of it. I mean, the global warming is the reason that these fires are happening more and more often. And one of the, well, arguably the largest contributor to that is animal agriculture and our consumption. So what we're eating is fueling this. So I just pictured like basically the Last Supper, like someone eating, consuming the earth with it all burning down around him. And I wanted like when I envisioned it, I guess I kept thinking of like the Da Vinci painting, like the Last Supper, just because of the name of it. And so this friend of mine, he kind of has like Jesus hair. I feel like he looks a little Jesus like. And he's also vegan, so I thought that was important.
Yeah, I was about to jump in and say for anybody watching right now that doesn't know, Victoria is a pretty strong advocate for, going vegan, and she's very persuasive. But please go ahead, Victoria.
So So yeah, that's where I came up with this idea. But this was literally one of those images that just like, I almost feel like the universe like gifted it to me. Like it just like popped into my brain and I can just see it, which happens maybe like once a year. I love it when it happens, but yeah, then I have to source everything. So anyway, first thing I sourced was the balloon. Um, okay, this is my old assistant Emily. You probably recognize her from the uh, Lady Blackbird.
I
Anyway,
do.
yeah, here she is. She's throwing his hair. That's why she looks like she's giving us the finger. She's not really. But I knew I wanted like a hair toss. So that's the hair toss. So element number 2. Again, it's like the same lighting. Okay, I knew that I wanted it to look like it was, there was a lot of wind and craziness happening. So yeah, I had him like swoosh around the wine glass. So here's the wine glass element. This is, I shot this downtown at an old church. It just is like the doors. I'd already started cutting it out here. I just, stuck it on there, but that's where I got the arches from. Because I can't draw really well. I find it's easier to just take, little pieces like this. I got rid of all the bricks. You can see like it's just basically the inside that I used of the windows. Anyway, that's where I got that shape from. Oh, here, you can see I cut them out. Okay, so now I've got them cut out and I put in a backdrop that I just shot. I just shot that when I was in Spain, and I took a gel. I put a gel on one of my lights, and because I knew I needed like everything to look orangey and fiery, right? So because I can't buy anything, I can't even use like used textures or whatever. Like I make everything myself. So this
But
is
why do you say you can't? Is that like a personal choice or?
it's competition rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
you have to expose every part of the image yourself.
okay.
So
So
I
even
just
your
always,
backdrop that you used, you had to have shot that at some point. The one that you took in Ireland, I believe you said.
yes, yeah, exactly. Spain though, but yeah.
Oh,
Um,
Spain. Excuse me.
so yeah, this is like the texture that I used, and I took it and I overlaid it. So now everything's turning orange, right? I do not know how I'm gonna make fire. I thought I was gonna have to photograph fire, and then I found out that you can make fire in Photoshop, which is great. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of color toning involved here, and a lot of like detail work and adding the fire and dodge and burning, and then I created like this extra, you know, architectural feature, because what this does, these are like leading lines. So it just focuses it right down onto him, because there's kind of a lot going on here. So with portrait, I'm always worried like I don't want distracting elements. And I just thought like it's too flat here. This just added, just putting in those like shadows just added like that dimension, right? So gave it a little depth, and that is the finished one.
Yeah. So how long did this whole process take you?
I mean, I probably worked on this for like a good week or so initially, just because you put it together and then you kind of, play around with it for a while, and what is it missing? What does it need? Like those arches probably came in like 2 weeks later or something. Like, sometimes you have to just sit on it and look at it. It's probably like painting a painting in a way where, is it done? What else does it need? Yeah.
So,
So
so I would call you a master of photo composition, and just saying this. And I know you've got a lot of different photos that you do this for. So, to somebody that's new, that wants to kind of tell the story and get into Photoshop and start doing this, how did you learn? Did you just jump in, or did you take a course, or how did you go about learning the ins and outs on adding all these extra features and overlays and just making it really pop? Because this is a beautiful, beautiful shot. And you said you did it in a week, and I was actually expecting a lot longer, but I assume the longer you do this, the faster you get.
Well, I've come back to this many times since, so it kept getting upgraded. So it's probably had, because it like I entered this into the competition for the World Photographic Cup Team Canada. So this one was on Team Canada, and when you submit, it's a competition, but it's a curation is what it is. So they'll go through and they'll pick their top 6 from each category, and then if they want to see any changes, if they think you can make it better, then they give you that opportunity. So they did that with this one. So I went in and just refined like things. I mean, it's literally like the most minute things you can imagine, but like it takes a while. So anyway, I went back there, and then after WPPI, they gave me a couple things. So it just keeps getting like more rounds. So in the end, it ends up being like a lot. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at piecing them together at this point. I think as far as like composition and understanding, like sort of the theory behind it, the first time I went and I sat and I watched images being judged, I remember like an image would come up and I would just think like, nope. And then the judges would say no, and they would explain why. And I didn't know the theory behind it because it was just, I feel like it's just something I instinctually kind of see. Like I just know what looks right and what doesn't. Like I think I have like a sensitive eye to that or something. But they help me learn how to actually understand why I didn't like it. Like I didn't understand how leading lines worked, and even things like I remember listening to one judge talking about how there was like a post at like the edge of the image, and what that did is it kept you in there, right? Like your eye would go, but then it would stop because there's something stopping you. Like there's all this sort of like psychology behind how we view things and what's appealing to our eye and all that sort of stuff, and you can definitely go learn that. I mean, honestly,
So you're a mind ninja is what you're saying. Like you already knew, and you're just like, I know what people like. So you didn't even have to be taught. But where could somebody that doesn't have that ability, where could they go to find this information? Or do you know, is it just finding different courses and YouTube videos, or do you suggest, and how would somebody get better?
you want to make sure that the person who's teaching you actually knows what they're talking about, for one thing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of like master photographers who offer courses like I don't know, like Jerry Gionis is like an amazing wedding photographer and one of like the most awarded wedding photographers in history. So like if you do weddings or even portraits, like he's like a wealth of knowledge. There's a lot of people who put out education and will do courses. Like you can buy a course all on composition and sort of the rules behind it. But at the same time, I think there is, like you could go to school to be an interior decorator, for example, but like if you don't have a natural just like a natural talent for that, no matter if you learn every rule there is, you're probably never going to be that great at it. It's sort of one of those things, like you can teach it to a degree, but I think that it kind of just comes down to like having a general understanding of like what looks good. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where that comes from. I think you can get better. But yeah, you can't start at 0 and get to 100, I don't think.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I don't want to keep you too long today. I'm sure you have about 300,000 pictures that you want to be editing to make some NFTs, and we hope you do. Every time you post something, it's absolutely amazing. I will add your links to the end of this video for all different sites, not just Calumet, because we believe in helping the artists no matter where they go. So we will go ahead and add those to the end of this. And do you have anything to add for somebody that's just trying to learn more? Where can they go? Maybe where can they find more of Victoria West? What sites are you on right now? Sorry, that was a bit vague, but where are you? And I'll just add them to the end of this as well.
Well, I mean, I have a website, which is victoriawestportrait.com. And then I've got, like, if you're interested in, NFT stuff, I'm on Try Showtime, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, although Instagram's more like client work, and I'm on Facebook. Like, I'm everywhere. So yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can DM me or email me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Victoria. And I'll probably see you here in a little while in a clubhouse room. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.